Death Watch.
Alright, welcome back to the Call of Cthulhu campaign that shall not be named. I am Travis, I'll be your guys' keeper tonight. And the last time we left off with nothing untoward happening whatsoever. But first, let's get an introduction or reintroduction to all our players. We'll start with John.
I am John, and I will be playing James Whitmire, the master thief / smuggler extraordinaire.
All right, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'll be playing Charles Staton, guide and big game hunter.
Hello, I'm Justin. I'll be playing Lance Monroe, a museum curator of a curioso, focusing on the occult in the northeast of the U.S.
And that leaves us with Brandon, finally.
Hello, I'm Brandon. I'll be playing Nicholas Saucedo, a horribly scarred, disfigured World War I veteran who is now obsessed with learning the secrets of the occult.
All right, so our scene will open back in the infinite nothing that Mr. Monroe finds himself in. I believe you had heard a voice echo out from this black, tenebrous space that said,
Why have you called upon me?
Let's respond with, I was brought here, but I seek understanding and knowledge.
What knowledge do you seek?
The truth of the world and the universe.
You're gone, man.
Behold, I will show it to you.
all right, so out in the blackness, you see a flickering light that's rapidly approaching. You know, sort of think of, I suppose, movies from this time period, that screen, the black and white flickering, coming closer and closer until it washes over all of your vision, and then you're in another dark space. But this doesn't feel infinite. In fact, it feels close and crowded, and you have the sense that your shape has changed, that you're wriggling about with others like you in this filth. This you can't pick out the color because you can't really see anything. In fact, you don't even have the sensation of having eyes, but you're wriggling about with others like you, and there's this large mass that you recognize as a parent of some kind. But it's a perverse version of parenting. Rather than it being your mother or your father and nurturing you, it's crying out to you, this huge, indescribable mass. It's crying out with hunger. It wants you to feed it.
Okay.
Let's get a sanity roll.
I shake it off like it's nothing.
So yeah, you I suppose maybe you could be thinking in the back of your head that this is some sort of dream state, but you still will lose 1d6 sanity, so if you want to roll 1d6 for me. Excellent.
I'm going to destroy our archaeologists before we even...
This is all for the betterment of us. Just remember that.
All right. So I'm no longer human. I'm wriggling about trying to feed some beast of a of a parent.
Okay, so you're still in this place, but the voice, this reverberating voice that was speaking to you before you were brought here, says,
What do you think of one of my forms? Beautiful, isn't it?
Are you the mass or the creature that we are trying to feed?
I have 1,000 faces and 1,000 names. This is the one that you will worship. You will bring others to me.
What is the name that I shall call you?
You may call me Father.
Very well.
And I will give you tools to recruit others.
and you feel the sensation of something brushing into not exactly your brain, but that core of your person that you think of as yourself. And now there's something in there occupying that space with you. And let's pause there for a moment and discuss what James's viewing here. So all of the questions he's been asking out loud, and you saw you saw a change come over him. His eyes rolled up into the but perfectly, so that they're perfectly white. But you did see them roll up, and he's been saying these things that don't make very much sense. What would you like to do?
So how long has this actually been happening?
You can think of it in real time.
Okay. So, yeah, and I'm waiting on I guess a response from asking him, to tell me information about this. And then, so when that happens, I guess I don't know that I've seen something like this. Well, definitely not something like this, but So,
well, I'd say that the sight of it is a bit unnerving. So let's get a sanity roll from you real quick.
When in doubt, roll your sanity. Nice.
Nice.
Oh, that's a nice sanity. Well, yeah, you succeed, and there's no issue. He might. Well, you know that Augustus Larkin is some sort of drug abuser. So, what's another? After all, they're legal. You can buy them over the counter. He must just be in some sort of fugue state. Maybe is what you're rationalizing, but you don't lose any sanity.
Okay. So, I mean, is he still holding this artifact then?
Yeah, he was peering deep into the mirror, but now his eyes have rolled back.
And is it still in front of him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Mr. Monroe, why don't you say one of the things that you said to this entity you were speaking to?
What do I call you?
Yeah, so that's what he's saying right at the moment.
So I'll, you know me, I'm James. Just call me James. But maybe you should get some rest or something. So I'll move forward and try to take that mask and usher him out of the room. Is what my plan is at this point.
Okay, the voice and the physical contact breaks you out of wherever you were. However, you come back to the room that you guys were in. I believe it was his room.
Yeah.
And you don't. I mean, you have a sense. It was all linear how it happened, so you don't lose any aspect of reality. But you can't hear anything. You realize.
Okay.
Like you see his lips moving as he's trying to usher you out of the room, but you can't hear anything. You do still feel that something occupying the core of who you are.
Okay. In probably a voice louder than I mean it to be, I'll say, I'm going to take this back to my room and I'm going to investigate it a little bit farther. Don't worry about anything that just happened. Yeah. And then I'm just going to walk out the door.
Yeah. I'm not going to allow that.
All right, Mr. Monroe.
I'm not going to let him go spend this thing on more drugs.
Shave off pieces of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make a power roll for me. And I'll need one from you as well, James.
How did I fail?
I'll use 4 luck to succeed.
I would also use 4 luck. Or
3. Right? No.
I would use 4.
Use
you
3.
would, you would use 2. You would only need 2.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, if you so you're going to use luck as well, Lance.
Yeah.
So you have the higher skill, so you break the tie. Yes, his desire becomes more than his desire. It also becomes yours, James.
I see.
So, Lance, that's going to cost you 5 magic points.
Okay. Do those ever come back?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
one per hour.
Okay.
And also 1d3 sanity points.
So I guess what happens? Like, what does this actually look like?
There's no effect. From your end of things, Mr. Monroe, you feel that thing that's occupying some part of the core of you sort of, it's a psychic feeling, sort of reach out like a finger and sort of brush, like you're trying to put an infant to sleep. It's brushing the forehead of James.
Okay. And as it's doing that, I'm going to remember my promise to bring more to him, and I'm going to say, how about you come and investigate it with me?
Okay.
All right. So what's your guys' intelligence?
60.
75.
All right. So this will wear off after a time unless he reapplies it. So you're going to follow him out and you guys go to your room now?
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you want to do once you're there?
I want to... I wasn't really given a whole lot of instruction on how to bring people to Father, so I'll have him peer deeply into the mask as well.
All right, James, can I get a power roll?
Okay.
Nothing happens for you. You see your reflection, and I should say you're not, other than the suggestion that the powerful suggestion in your mind from him, you still have full autonomy of your character. So you behave exactly as you normally would, except that you want to.
So, obviously, he wants to show me something here. One thing that I remember him doing, though, before all that happened was, like, turning it in his hand. So that's what I'll try and reach out so I can say, well, maybe you're not doing it right. And try to start turning it like he did, and then peer back into it.
Well, yes, I would say that would qualify as allowing you to push the roll.
What is it?
You get to re-roll it.
Oh.
You should remember that there would have been consequences if you had failed before you just go pushing.
Don't worry about consequences.
In real life, there's no consequences.
This is true.
Yeah, I've never faced any.
Yeah.
All right, so roll a 1d7 for me.
That's not a real dice.
Yeah, he's making stuff up.
There's not even enough.
Hey, I had to do it, and that's what lost my sanity.
Well, this
what
is
it?
Cthulhu, It's
Is it occlusion or however it's pronounced?
yeah.
We're
Geometry.
Just type in
/R 1d7.
Oh, okay. So it's not in the dice thing.
Put a space between the slash and R. Or not slash and R, but the /R space 1d7. Sorry.
Right, what did we get here? 2. All right, so as I described to Lance, at first you just see your reflection, but you flip it around, and when you get back to the mirror side, you see something moving in the reflection, and then it starts to encompass all of your vision. And what you see is a small man. He's naked, huddled in a corner of a dingy room, and he just has like a paintbrush, and he's painting. And as soon as you begin to make out what the image is, it flashes to something else. Roll another 1d7 for me. All right, so with this next vision, you're just standing out. You're from Boston, right?
Chicago, Illinois, and then I moved to Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in the place you currently live. So you're in Boston, just walking on the streets, and it's a nice day. But then at first it seems like a cloud passes over or in front of the sun, but then it gets even darker than that. And when you look up, you can see it's kind of like an eclipse. You can actually look at the sun to some degree, but you see tentacles, not literal tentacles, but as a description of this darkness sort of radiating across the sky until it consumes all of the sky. And then you come back to the room, Mr. Monroe's room.
Okay. I'll ask him, what was it?
It was a vision.
I know, but of what? Nothing can cover the sky like that.
I don't know yet. I don't know if it's a vision of the past or the future or a possible future, but this is no simple artifact.
Can I see more?
I don't know, but for now we should probably wait.
So I'll just take a seat in one of the chairs in the room and just try and contemplate, I guess, what's the correlation between a naked old man drawing or painting in a room and the thing that blocks out the sun and covers the sky.
Yeah, I would say at that moment it doesn't make very much sense to you, and that's kind of when you feel this. You don't even feel it as an outside influence. You just kind of feel it as awakening from some strange mania. Like, why did you because you remember you were going to be like, no, I'm going to take this mirror. But then you got, well, wait, I need to see what this is, like what he's talking about. But that dissipates and you're left wondering why you even looked at it at all. But let's pause there for a moment. I believe Charles and Nicholas, you guys were heading back towards your rooms.
Yeah,
Retire for the evening?
turning in for the evening.
No, I'm in my room.
Oh, okay.
The cops came to my room.
Right.
So,
They've all left by now.
yeah.
Did they give him a new window?
No. They have the hotel operator did offer you another room.
Oh, I will take that then.
Okay. So yeah, some time is spent moving you to another room, and it occurs to you or even to Nicholas that you guys shot his arm off. At least you saw that for sure. So what would you like to do?
Well, I'm probably just going to go to bed. I don't know any of this odd stuff's happening.
Okay.
You're not gonna go collect your trophy.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. But I think wandering the streets of Lima with an elephant rifle at night probably wouldn't be the best idea.
Yeah, well, I didn't see that he shot his arm off, but I guess I do. Well, here, let me
Oh, that is a good...
let me look at my.
If his arm did come off...
I guess I probably would not
Go monkey paw.
be able to sleep without satisfying. Like, if I know how big that gun is, and I know what kind of damage it does, so I would at least want to go look.
Okay.
I think
But I'd probably want to, like, maybe after an hour or so when things have died down a bit, then I'd be wrestling with myself the whole time, but that's what I'd eventually decide.
Yeah, I think I'd do it sometime during their moving me from one to the next.
All right, so I think that would put you down there first, Charles. It was just on one side of the hotel, and it's starting to clear out because it's getting quite late. And you're out there smoking one of your cigars, perhaps, looking around. And make a spot hidden roll for me.
Now it has to fail.
Well, you've done a pretty good job of going back and forth where you think you had shot the guy, and you don't see any indication, any of the blood spatter that you had seen. I suppose you might push the roll because there's a group of men, they look like sailors, just standing around drinking and smoking, and they're occupying a part of the street. If you were to shoo them off, maybe you could search that part you haven't gotten a look at. Of course, they are rough and tumble sailors.
Yeah. Other than looking at them kind of angrily, I probably won't push it. Yeah.
Well, no answers were found in the street, and you passed Nicholas on your way back up to your new room when they alert you that it's ready for you.
Okay.
And Nicholas, what were you going to do out on the street? Are you just giving yourself room to think, or?
Yeah, like, I'm going to go, where he was and see what I can see. Like, if Charles is telling the truth and he hit him, then I should be able to find some sign of it. I might even be able to follow that sign.
Okay, go and give me a spot hidden roll. All right, you got a hard success there. So yeah, with that you find not an arm, a severed arm, or even blood spatter. Although once you find this first part, you do start to see something else that you think might have been his blood. But you find a sort of rectangular, about arm length shape on the paving stones that just has some sort of whitish residue on the stones. And then you see other splatters of this whitish residue.
Oh, okay.
It even seems to be somewhat caustic in the sense that the stone beneath it appears somewhat pitted now, whereas before, or around it, it doesn't.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess I would like squat down there and take a close look at it, and see if it's something that I recognize, that I've ever seen before. Sort of like that stuff that'll burn through anything. What is that?
Phosphorus?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't look...
Magnesium?
It looks like an organic compound of some kind. If you were to compare it to something you'd seen, you would think pus,
Oh, gross.
but it's drying and flaky now.
Okay. I'll, does it have a noticeable odor?
When you examine it closer, you get the smell of tainted meat.
Okay. And this isn't something I've seen before. It's not something I could say, well, this is a town and towns have acidic, tainted meat smelling white powder laying on the ground. What is there anything open nearby? Because I was just thinking that if it is related, if I could get some sort of container to put some in, I am going to a university tomorrow, and they might have a chemistry department.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there are some street vendors that are still open at this late hour, and
I need something made of glass, like a glass container with a lid.
You can find that, like little glass jars or little ceramic jars.
Yeah.
Whichever one you want.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get a little glass jar as long as it has a lid.
Yeah.
And scoop some up. And then I'll...
what do you use to...
Yeah, right. That's a good question. I'll get like some newspaper or fish paper or I don't know.
Okay.
Right, because I can see that it's sort of burning the stone, so I don't want to touch it.
So there's no immediate reaction to this piece of paper you use to gather some of this up into the jar, but by the time you make it back to your room, it's got holes in it.
The paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
The jar seems to be holding.
Okay.
For now.
Right. So does my room have like a balcony or even a large window with what's that called?
Veranda.
Yeah, something like that.
Balcony.
Yeah. All of your guys' suites have those French windows.
Yeah.
The kinds you can open and walk out of.
Right.
Out onto the veranda.
Yeah. Okay. So, then I would put that out there overnight, leave it out there.
Okay.
Right. Because, like, I'm pretty educated. I don't know about this, but I don't want it to melt through the glass and go through the floor and set something on fire or whatever. But then I would just stand out there for a bit, get the fresh air, and then go to bed probably.
Okay. James and Mr. Monroe.
So I'll ask James, what did it show you?
Well, at first, it showed me an old man painting something. I couldn't quite make out what it was, but when it started to take shape, I was in Boston. I was just walking along, and something came across the sun and filled the sky with itself, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to describe it, but there's nothing that big.
It showed me the lives of people in the past. One person in Africa riding across in a train, and another in an ancient civilization as it was being torn asunder by something from the ocean with massive tentacles. And then it showed me the beginning of everything and where it began. Someplace outside of our universe. I can't fully comprehend it.
What is it, though?
I don't know.
So where is the the mirror right now?
You're probably still holding it.
So yeah, I mean, I do want to try it again because I want to see more, especially if that's the future. Is what is this thing and when does it happen, right? And what are the after effects?
I don't know if you'll see the same thing again, but Father told me to bring more to see these visions that he shows us.
Okay.
It shows us.
So yeah, I'll spin it.
So yeah, any further attempts at activating whatever had happened seem to do nothing. The mirror is dark, for lack of a better word.
And
you
this
only
is a
see
mask, right?
It's in the shape of a mask, yeah.
I want to put it on.
Yeah, even putting it on doesn't seem to do anything. At least for today, whatever mystical powers it have gone.
I'll tell Lance then it's not working for me, and I'll hand it back and look at you expectantly for you to try.
I'll take the cloth that had been folded in before and fold it over and say, I don't think it's time for us to make any more leaps in our understanding right now.
Okay.
For now, I don't think we should tell the others. I think they would think we'd gone mad. I don't think you would have understood if you hadn't seen this yourself.
No, I don't. The reason why I didn't announce it to everybody is that I don't want everybody to know, even before all of this happened. So this just re-cements the fact that no one else needs to know about this.
Of course, until it's time for them to know.
But I will inform him where it came from.
I don't need to know where it came from.
Or more accurately, who it came from. Because, I got this, or I had seen, what was that guy's name?
Luis de Mendoza.
Yeah, I'd seen Luis with this before.
Well, if he had it before, then he will surely be desperate to get it back. Must be very careful to make sure that he never finds out that it's in our possession.
He might know more about it, too.
But the second we let him know that we know about it, he may try and take it back.
More is. And now you see this dangerous but greedy glint.
Well, it has been a long day.
Yeah, I'm going to call it for myself and just excuse myself from the room. Kind of absent-mindedly, I'm gonna go and then just walk out.
Okay. So in a metagame sense, Justin, you can use that suggestion at will. It's magic cost and any ensuing sanity loss depends on the level of suggestion you're trying to do.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
All right.
And you
Can I see naked old men at will? With no sanity loss? Sorry.
You can if you want.
We've already lost him.
You just gotta go looking.
It is 1920 after all.
It's true.
Yeah, just
All right. So yeah, you guys retire to your rooms, and the rest of the night passes without event. And you wake in the morning, and let's focus for a moment on Mr. Charles Stanton, and let's get a portrait of Charles Stanton. Let's get a glimpse at his morning routine. Can you paint an image of Mr. Stanton at some point in his routine? Maybe he's
nude and in the corner and painting on the
wall. And James is in the opposite corner.
He probably wakes up fairly early, crack of dawn, showers, shaves, or bathes, shaves, then settles down to breakfast and tea, or whatever that they might have if tea's not available here, and probably smoking either a pipe or a cheroot or a cigar.
Yeah, we'll freeze him in the act of shaving. So he's got the mutton chops, so you're just carefully going over that middle portion on your chin there. And you're remembering back to your meeting with Rupert Merriweather, where you first met all of the gentlemen you're with. And at the end of that meeting, he caught your attention and he said, Mr. Stanton, I was wondering if we could have a private discussion before you go. My friend, I suppose you wonder why I'm putting you up to this, sending you off to Peru. It's not normally what you do, now is it?
No, I'd say it isn't, but then again, you pay well enough, Merriweather.
Yes, indeed. This Mr. Larkin, I have no unusual concerns about him other than, I suppose, the standard American concern for a British man, present company excluded. And I've made special effort that any of the things he finds in this expedition of interest to me will find themselves to my door. And I'm going about this as legally as I can. That said, that is where you come in. Should things not work out the way I want them to, I want you to ensure that they do. You see, each of you is a key for a very specific lock. Mr. Monroe, he has the knowledge to identify the artifacts that are of interest to me. Mr. Whitmire has the skill to get them out of country. And Mr. Saucedo has been forged in the worst conditions contrived by man. He will not blanch in the face of death. You would do well to depend on him, as he has faced worse than even you, my old friend, and commanded others to face it as well. And you, my friend, I know will see it done at all costs. Now, I suppose the point of this conclave of ours is that Mr. Larkin has intimated to me that he wishes to keep this expedition small, and that does not quite fit with your usual cavalier manner. That is to say, it's not that we can't have certain assets waiting in the wings. So what is it that you would like to be bringing with you, these assets waiting in the wings?
So he's basically asking me what I kind of want to believe I can get this mission done.
Yeah.
Well, if I had my way, 10 to 15 men, a couple of them heavy machine gunners. Vehicles, of course, to get through the jungle or whatever it is, whatever terrain we have to go through.
I see.
Right.
Well, that is quite a lot.
Of course, one can always dream, can't they?
Perhaps we can do 2. I will arrange their passage and put them up in a hotel in Lima, and they shall be available upon your arrival.
Yeah, I'll kind of scowl. Like, I don't know if 2 is going to be enough, but if that's all you got, that's all it is.
I think it shall suffice. Hopefully everything will go well. And please remember, as I said, each of the men I chose are a key to a lock. It's important that they survive. They're not disposable. I find it...
He'll scowl at that, too.
Well, you see, at my age, it's very difficult to make new friends and acquaintances, so I find them less and less disposable as time goes on. It has been good to see you, though, old friend.
You too.
And I wish you great fortune. And with that, it comes back to Charles Stanton finishing up his shave and getting ready for breakfast, which actually Augustus Larkin had arranged you guys a banquet room in the morning where breakfast is brought to you and you can all gather, and that's where we'll pick up as you are at the hotel banquet room and breakfast has been served. It's ham and toast and avocado and scrambled eggs with a certain type of sausage in it, and it's brought to you by waiters, and you guys are gathered there together to plan your day. And it's a Saturday.
I would just like to say that I made sure this morning, because of last night's incident, to have my 45 on me.
Okay.
Shoulder holster.
I would expect nothing less, my studious friend.
No, I don't say that to you guys. I was telling the keeper that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would have been a luck roll. You might have forgot it.
okay.
All right, so yeah, I suppose some scheduling of the day is in order, although you have all had somewhat different experiences, and I don't know to what degree you will work together or not. So, Mr. Monroe, what is your plan?
Well, my plan is to do exactly like I had attempted to do yesterday and go down to the library to research the area that we'll be entering, see if there are any records, past surveys, those kinds of things that we could use on our journey. And any of my companions that would like to come with me, from what I've heard, the university library is a rather large place, and any assistance in tracking down information would be most welcome.
So is Mr. Hughes in here with us?
No.
Okay. Well, okay then. As it happens, I am going to go to the university myself today.
With the incidents of yesterday, it will be most welcome to have a warrior of such venerated caliber as yourself.
Thank you for the compliment. Mr. Hughes will be joining us as well.
The more the merrier. Traveling together in a pack seems like a good idea considering what's happened. Mr. Whitmore, you'll be coming as well. Mr. Stanton, will you also be accompanying us to the university today? You were the object of the last assassination attempt,
I'd hardly call a brigand busting into a room an assassination attempt.
He may have been a brigand, but a brigand of such strength as his was quite impressive. And the way he leapt off the balcony and ran through the crowd, quite unusual.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, I believe I have other business to attend to in and about town.
A man who keeps his own affairs close to the chest, I can respect that.
All right, so it seems that Charles has other business, and the other three of you are going to head off to the library. When in doubt, look in the book.
Nah.
So we'll start with the three of you. After your guys' breakfast, which is all expertly prepared and very filling, you guys catch a tram to the university, which, as you know, Mr. Monroe, is the oldest university in the Americas. Although you can see there's a newer building there. That's the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. It's a painted dark yellow 2-story building that's on the university campus. And that's actually where you're supposed to meet Jesse Hughes at 2 o'clock.
All right.
But there's still some time until then, Nicholas. So you guys head up to the library on the university, and you go inside. And you're free to walk in and out. They have indexing systems you guys can look at to help narrow your searches, or librarians. Let's start with Mr. Monroe. What are you looking for?
Good. Just a second. What was the area called that we were headed towards? Where is it on the map? It was near a lake. I remember that. Lake Titicaca.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'll walk up to the librarian and I'll be like, "My good sir or lady, whichever it is, we've been looking to research some of the surveying done up around Lake Titicaca. Mostly interested in any kind of indigenous peoples that have lived there over the years, or expeditions into the jungle that have brought back any kind of unique stories or unique land formations."
All right, so the librarian, a man, he's looking at you, speak English to him somewhat blankly, and but he's too polite to stop you until you're done speaking, and then he asks you, and this is relatively common enough that, do you speak Spanish?
Poquito.
All right, so yeah, you lay it out again. Go and give me your your Spanish roll.
Yeah.
As you try to translate all that. You're finding it's quite difficult to be a showman in a language you don't understand very well.
Yeah. Why is it not popping up? All right, there we go.
About what time is it?
Probably be nearing 10 by the time you guys make it to the library.
Okay.
All right. So no.
Well, he does key on Titicaca. So, and you talk about artifacts, and so he directs you to, it's actually a book of photographs for certain artifacts that they have in the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology here in the storeroom. It's sort of a catalog of everything is not currently on display.
Okay.
And he just kind of points at a few pages, and you get the sense that he's saying that these were found up in that area.
Okay. And I'll try to convey English translator.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm kind of assuming that most of these books are in Spanish and that they will be fairly useless to me unless I find one.
Well, the one he directed to you, aside from the, what's the term for aside from the caption or whatever you want to call it underneath the picture, you're looking at pictures, so that is pretty helpful. But yeah, he goes off to see if he can find you a translator. You hope. You think.
Well, he nodded and walked away. That's good enough.
What about Nicholas and James? Are you guys going to stay on Mr. Monroe's hills, or are you going to go look at books?
No, I have my own business to attend to, and what I would like to do is see if they have some sort of chemistry department. Is
Okay.
this just the library, or is this the whole university we're at?
You're just at the library. So there are multiple buildings on the campus.
But okay, so
Yeah. So I suppose it's somewhat of a crapshoot, but you pick a building that looks well. It's there's more of a direct path there. Maybe it's some sort of hub.
yeah,
And
that's
if you
what I
go in
would
there and
look for is like the main building, right?
and wander in there. Okay. So yeah, you wander up to one of these buildings and you walk inside, and there are people moving about their own business. And go ahead and give me an appearance roll.
They're going to direct him to the medical part of the university to see if they can fix him.
Not that bad.
Well, it's a reaction you've grown quite used to. Is people rush about their business after shocked glances at your wounds, and so everybody that you're trying to approach is doing their polite best to avoid you.
Right. Okay.
And the few people you can get to stand still for a moment, they don't speak English. So James, what are you doing?
So I would like to try and find I'd like to try and find any books or information on artifacts that have been pulled from other areas up here,
Okay.
right? And also lore, I guess. So what were their gods? What are their myths, things like that.
All right, so why don't I get a library use roll from both Mr. Monroe and James Whitmire?
I'll spend 4 luck.
Oh, to make it a critical?
No, that one was mine.
That was his, yeah. To make it a success.
All right, Mr. Monroe, with that success, there's a image that captures your attention. Let me show it to you. Well, I'll just show it to everyone. Did that pop up on all of your guys' screens?
Yep.
All right, so the caption underneath that image, which is not a photograph but a drawing, you can see Tiahuanacu, which you're familiar with, just with your base knowledge of archaeology, and that this caption says Sun Gate, the Spanish term for it, and you know enough to pick that up with your 10%. But the thing that captures your eye is the figure above the entryway to that gate. The man holding 2 rods or staves reminds you of the pendant that Augustus Larkin showed you.
Okay.
So he's wearing, in this image, you can see that there's some sort of headdress, and these are actually snakes in an array around his head. But it does at least confirm that one artifact at least has the images from Tiahuanacu, so your assessment of it was correct, and
Okay.
Larkin's story, at least in that way, is correct.
All right. I'll see if I can find more about a precise location of where this was found or seen.
Yeah, with your archaeological skill, you actually know because, there are 5 pristine civilizations, or what they describe as pristine civilizations at this time, and these are civilizations that rose about without influence from elsewhere. And the definition, archaeologically speaking, means they have like a caste system, they have an economy, so this isn't like tribal society.
Okay.
I believe at this time you guys, scientists, had the notion of like Pangea or everybody coming from one location. But this just means that whatever initial proto-human made it here, this is like a pristine civilization. No outside influence, no European influence came into this.
Okay.
So that's what makes Lake Titicaca and Tiahuanacu such an archaeological find, is because you're looking at amongst the oldest civilizations there are. The only more thrilling one for any archaeologist is in Egypt, which is also one of the locations of a pristine civilization. But you actually, just flipping the page, there's another picture that jumps out at you. So yeah, that is an actual photograph of an item that they have at the museum. It's difficult to read out that description because that's all in Spanish, but it appears to be like a gold bar that it's torn on each end, so it used to belong to a bigger object. And then it has some geometric writing along the band. And some of that writing, to your trained eye, looks similar to the geometric patterns on both the sun gate and the pendant, meaning they're from a pre-Incan civilization, pre-Columbian civilization.
Okay.
And it gives you, you can see that there's some sort of system in place where if you wanted to go to the museum, you could actually find that in the storeroom, like where in the storeroom it's located. And James, with your luck, you actually probably want to save it. Just it being in Peru, a regular success is not going to be enough to find anything with that. So you would have to spend a total of 19 luck to get to that spot.
But I'll meet back up with Whitmire there and show him what I have found and say I think that a good next step may be to find where this artifact is in their vault if they'll allow us to see it.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm not having much luck getting across what I want from here. So
yes.
I haven't been able to find anybody that speaks English.
Where is that blasted librarian with the translator?
Yes, he has not returned, but we'll pause with you guys for a moment and go on to Charles. So what are you going to do with your day, Charles?
I was figuring that is there a chance that I have the like a map of the potential route?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, I'd be going over that, and making sure that Larkin's having enough supplies and all that stuff for us.
Yeah, so you can see that Larkin's plan is to take trucks from here to Puno, and that's some 800 miles of road over mountainous terrain, so it'll take a number of days to get up there. And he didn't give you a provisions list, so you would have to seek him out if you wanted to know what he was bringing.
Probably a bunch of opium. So yeah, I'll probably spend most of my day mapping out, going over his what he's figuring the route we're going to take is, and seeing if there's any way that either might be faster or if I agree with it, type of thing.
Well, go ahead and give a navigation roll.
Alrighty.
Got a regular success there. Yeah, so the route he picked is not bad. Alternatively, you guys could take a ship to a town called Mollendo and then take a train to Puno, but it's the difference of a day, maybe.
Okay.
And in this way, you don't have to worry about handling baggage with a third party. That's all on trucks that you guys have rented and you can keep your eye on. You do know that just looking at the maps, if they're current, and they seem to be current, that once you get up to Puno, the trucks are going to lose their utility, and from there it'll be pack animals and whatnot. And in this era, the trucks, most of the cargo will just be you guys, because these aren't like big, huge trucks. They don't really have those now.
Yeah.
And one truck will store the belongings and food and stuff of that nature on it. But it all looks pretty good to you.
All right. Those men that Meriwether promised, would they be in this town? Is that where we're going to pick them up?
Yeah, they're in Lima.
Are they already under the service of Larkin, or?
No. He. Sorry, I didn't quite make that clear. This is an asset that only you know about. It was to be concealed from Larkin in case things were to go badly with Larkin. So I suppose since you know more precisely where you're going, you might want to go talk to them and maybe move them in place. So they're staying at a hotel nearer to the bay.
Okay. So,
or a boarding house, actually.
Yeah, I'll go do that. I'll head that direction.
Okay. So, when you get down to the bay, it's a poorer establishment, just a boarding house, pretty much. The only room that they have was given to these two men, and they share it. And they're a rough sort. One's an Irish fellow by the name of Ray Flanagan, and the other one looks to be a Peruvian local, or, from somewhere down here in South America, and his name is Marco Ramiro, and they're aware of who their boss is, so they kind of not quite snap to attention, but they stand up from where they were lazing about and whatnot.
Okay.
And Ray's like, Charles, how are you?
As well as could be in this damned place. I'll unroll the map. Let's get down to business, shall we, gentlemen?
Aye.
And I'll show them the route. Maybe suggest they head up to Puno, perhaps now, so that way they can kind of lay low, hang out there if they want. I don't know. So
yeah, Ray points out that if they take that steamer, they'll arrive well ahead of you, and then we can just wait for word there in Puno.
All right.
Blend in with the locals.
I'm sure you will.
All right. So yeah, we'll just fast forward up here to Nicholas's meeting with this Professor Mamicio Sanchez, and you see Jesse Hughes, or Elias Jackson, as you know him, standing outside of this Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, and you go up to shake his hand. It's a common South American greeting. And he's like, how you doing this morning, Nicholas?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
We had some excitement last night at the hotel. Well, last night after our meeting, when I went back towards my room, I heard a commotion in Mr. Stanton's room. And when I went in, he was in a scuffle with some unknown belligerent. And Mr. Whitmire was struggling, or Monroe was struggling to bring an elephant rifle to bear. So I interceded and pulled him off. And then he leapt through the window from the second floor and ran off down the street. And Mr. Stanton shot him with this elephant. Do you know this gun, the elephant?
Supposedly shot him. I don't think you saw.
Yeah.
But you heard it go off.
So, but it didn't bring him down.
Well, I'm sure there's some rational explanation for it.
Well, I hope so. I collected this, and I'll pull out that jar. And
maybe Mamicio will know somebody who can.
That's what I was hoping.
Have that analyzed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes me fearful that what I have found to be true is that when you look into these tales, these folklore, they always lead to some cult.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe this was a member of this cult if he attacked you, or a common thief. That's the most likely explanation.
No, he wasn't common. Do these cults that you've investigated have a propensity for attracting severely disfigured people?
Well, I can't say anything
malformed.
to that. But extreme body modification is common in these death cults.
I see.
Well, it's about time for our meeting. Let's go in and I'll introduce you.
Okay.
All right. So you go into this separate building. Like I said, it was a 2-story building painted dark yellow that's fronted by University Park. He leads you to Professor Sanchez's offices, and they're located on the first floor in an airy, tall-ceilinged room with white walls and shelves full of books and artifacts. And dominating the room is a large hardwood desk piled with papers, books, and journals. And there's a man sitting behind the desk. He's slim, rather dapper looking, with neatly oiled hair and a well-groomed beard. Yeah, and he's dressed in a suit. And he stands at your arrival, and both him and Elias Jackson start speaking in Spanish to each other. And it sounds like pleasantries. It just has that sort of cadence to it. Okay. But at some point, Elias is like, do you mind if we speak English? My friend here, Mr. Saucedo, does not speak the local language. And Sanchez is like, oh, of course. Pleasure to meet you.
Y'all offer my hand. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Senor Saucedo? Is that correct?
Correct.
How are you enjoying Lima?
The weather's nice.
Oh, yes.
The food's good.
So, please have a seat. Can I get you any refreshment?
Oh, no, I'll be fine. Thank you.
All right. So, our friend, Senior Jackson here says you are joining Senior Larkin's expedition. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And, let's see. What was your takeaway from Senior Larkin? What did you think of the man?
I found him odd, and not in a good way. There's something strange about him that makes me uncomfortable. I had, as I told Mr. Hughes, I noticed some odd markings on his arm, and it just sticks in my head that his suit was so much bigger than it ought to be. And some other things don't quite make sense to me, like his willingness to go on this arduous trek while he has malaria. And there's something odd going on with his companion, too, Mr. Louis Guzman.
Senor Guzman, I am not familiar with him.
Forgot the guy's name.
Mendoza.
Yeah. They don't seem to get along very well at all.
See, I got very much the same read on him. I think he is a Huaqueros, is what we call it. In your language, it would be something like a grave robber. I think he intends to loot this site.
Oh, I see. Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
But I have had one of my undergraduates looking into it, and she has found something that may be relevant to the location of this pyramid. A journal from a conquistador named Gaspar Figueroa. She is translating now. You see, it is written in very old Spanish. It is difficult to read. She is translating it in both Spanish and English. She should be bringing it any moment now. We're just waiting on her. She's down in the stored room looking for an artifact related to the site.
And so, have you heard of this site before?
No, but Mr. Larkin's excitement is correct. If this site is located near to Tiahuanacu, then it very well may be a treasure trove where the Incans hid their artifacts and gold from the Spanish conquistadors. Are you familiar with the history of Peru?
I'm going to make an education.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I am somewhat familiar.
All right, so yeah, prior to the Spanish conquistador arrival, there were a large Incan empire that extended over this part of Peru and elsewhere in South America, and that in 1532, a conquistador, a man named Francisco Pizarro, led one of these first, I suppose, not a raid, but seeking to conquest over this region. And by 1572, their conquest was complete, basically, and the viceroyalty of Peru was created. And then you find yourself in the present day. There was some exchange of power within, the Spanish reign of the area, but it's been that way ever since then. And it's largely stable and prosperous currently. And he says, I only ask because Senor Jackson, he has this talk of Pishtaku, we call them, or Kari Siri. And I was just wondering if you were familiar with the legends.
I'm familiar with what Mr. With what Mr. Hughes told me. So they sound quite familiar to what we'd call vampires.
Yes.
Back where I'm from.
Yes, you see, my mother, she used them to scare me from eating too many sweets. That's the sort of thing these folklore, these old myths are used for.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure Mr. Jackson has told you his theory that this is just the way for the Indians to explain the Spanish conquistadors, because, as he may have mentioned, they always appear as white men. Now, you may not know this, but the conquistadors would actually take the fat from the fallen enemy and use it to treat their own wounds, or they would boil it to grease the barrels of their guns or cannons, because they rust rather quick in the Amazon basin. And, we think that's how it started. Now, of course, I do not believe in such fairy tales, but it is rather interesting. But my assistant should be along at any moment. And we'll actually cut to Mr. Monroe and James.
Yes. So as we're walking over there, I will mention that I believe that this artifact that we are looking for may be tied in with the other two that Larkin had shown us, and could potentially even be related to the mask that you recovered.
But in what way? I mean,
well, if all of these artifacts come from the same location, then the very possibility that multiple cultures created from a single source could explain why the artifacts are touching on something much more ancient and much more primal.
do you think that it does the same thing, or
I don't know, but
maybe something different?
this may be something worth looking into. And I know that you have certain skills that help with bypassing the normal order of what would be proper etiquette, I suppose I would say. Perhaps you can bring those skills to bear in helping get us into the archives of these artifacts. And
I've been known to get into a place not a lot of people are allowed from time to time.
Good. But I see I've chosen the right man to come with me.
Let's find whoever we. Well, yeah.
Now, if only we can find someone that speaks English in this primitive country.
You guys can go ahead and make a luck roll in that regard.
That's the lower of the two of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
Wow, you're down to 18 already?
Yeah, I started with 25, and it goes pretty fast.
That's why you got to make sanity the low one.
Well,
All right, so yeah, you're wandering about, it's easy enough to find the building where this artifact is located.
Yeah, let's just go there instead of finding. You'll never find anybody else that speaks English in this place.
And as you're wandering in the halls, you do actually hear Nicholas's voice as you pass the room, and the voice of another man speaking with a Spanish accent.
Do a listen to
Allegedly.
see if I can hear what they're saying as we're going by.
If you want to. So you catch them when they're discussing this Pishtaku or Kari Siri myth.
Okay.
And you just catch a bit about the conquistadors, using the fat from their fallen enemy to treat their own wounds.
All right. I'll comment on that as to Lance here, as because that's what I was coming down. That type of stuff is what I was actually here to try and find. So let's ask him what he knows about that. It's like,
should I do
You could throw in a cult out there.
an occult? Where are you? There it is.
Oh, okay.
Fighting.
I accidentally hit the fighting skill as I was moving my mouse back.
He thinks and throws an ineffectual punch.
A very ineffectual punch.
stop it.
With you've heard of them. The Kari Siri is a new term you've heard to refer to them by, but you've heard of the Pishtaku myth. You've also heard that, as well as the conquistador, or you heard that the Andean Aboriginals feared the Spanish missionaries, as well as accusing them of being Pishtaku, and that they would steal the fat of the Andean people to grease their bells and make them especially sonorous when they toned.
Okay. Yeah, I will pontificate at length on my knowledge of everything, in grand fashion. Well, you see, my good friend, the conquistadors, when they came, they did not come as benevolent overlords. They came as conquerors, and some of their methods turned to a bit of the macabre. And due to that, there have been cults that have somewhat considered them demon-like. And of course, as in any civilization, whenever you see something elevated to the level of a demon or the power of a demon, there will be those that will worship them and try to emulate them in some simplistic fashion.
Just like we're attempting to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, so eventually you guys get stopped in the hallway while he's telling you this story by an older man who asks you in Spanish what you're doing. Here, you can figure that out, though, at 10%.
Okay.
Mr. Monroe.
Did I have the book with me?
Yeah, you could check it out.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll check it out, and I'll kind of open the book and point to the artifact and just say, okay.
Okay, yeah, he fishes out some spectacles and puts them on and squints at the book, and then he seems to recognize it, and he asks you something more complicated in Spanish.
And I'll say, ¿en inglés?
No. Un momento. Okay. And he goes off. And at that point, there's an interruption with you, Nicholas, and your conversation. And that older man peeks his head in the door and says something in Spanish to Amicio Sanchez. And there's an exchange for a moment. And Amicio's like, one moment. Pardon the interruption. And he stands up and he comes out in the hallway. And he's like, yes.
So he just took his contact?
You're right.
Yeah, I'll point to the book and I'll say, I apologize for interrupting your conversation, but we've been looking for this artifact, and it appears that you're the only English-speaking professor in this university.
There are others, but if you give me a moment, I will be with you.
I'll say, it appears as if you're speaking to our good friend, keep forgetting your name, Nicholas.
See,
would you be okay if we joined you? I couldn't help but overhear your conversation of the, what was the name of him again?
Fish Taku.
Fish Taku.
The fish tacos.
Yeah. That was actually what popped in my head, but I didn't want to say that.
That's what I had remembered.
And I'll say, I researched them at Arkham University, along with several other death cults. If you don't mind my listening in, I would love the chance to
correct you,
to observe and learn a little bit more.
All right, so he asks you to wait a moment again, and he comes back in the room, and he asks your guys' permission. He asks, is it okay if they come sit in? You know him, Senior Monroe, Senior Whitmire?
Yes, he's my companion.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he'll usher you guys into the room and offer you refreshments and mucho gusto and all that sort of stuff, and you guys get seated.
Okay. And I am going to be quiet while listening. I'm not going to talk.
Does your face start turning blue?
No, actually learning things is a huge thing to Monroe, so he's more than happy just to sit and listen.
Anyways, as I was saying, I have come to believe that I must get my own expedition together. Do you think I could convince you to join mine instead of Senior Larkin?
No. I don't see how I could. I came about this expedition through a friend, and I don't want to bring any embarrassment upon him for playing turncoat.
I understand. You see, it's just that the government of Peru does nothing to stop these huaqueros, these grave robbings. Tiahuanacu has already been looted a number of times, and these artifacts, they belong in a museum. But if I cannot change your mind...
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I can't. I'm a man of my word.
My Trinidad Rizzo will be along at any moment. She has been gone for quite a while now. I suppose she's probably just got distracted by something or another. I'm sorry, I have to go look for her. Would you guys wait here? And he gets up and he leaves the office. And you hear footfalls going down the hallway, and then they disappear after a while, and you guys are just left waiting there in the room. And Jackson decides to pull out his pipe, or Jesse Hughes decides to pull out his pipe and light that up. And then after a while, you hear a commotion. A woman screams in the hallway outside of the room you guys are in. Nicholas, you're the fastest to act. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'll rush out there.
All right, so what you see in these, they're pretty bare hallways. They're just meant from getting to room. You see a woman kneeling over a man, and there's a pool of blood that he's lying in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll dart over there and see if I can help her, if it's too late or what happened.
Okay, give me a first aid roll.
Should make another appearance one.
You don't know enough to get any more vitals. It doesn't look like he's breathing or that he's alive.
What is it?
And it looks like he's been stabbed.
Okay. And I don't know him?
You don't know him, and she is rapid fire Spanish at you, so it's
Okay.
nothing you can make out of. But then James, you're next to act.
All right. So, what does the knife look like? Just a normal knife, or?
No, sorry. There's just a stab wound.
Oh, a wound. Okay. Could I do a spot hidden to try and see any like blood trail left behind?
Yeah, you can you can throw out a spot hidden there. Yeah, you catch intermittently the heel of someone's boot had tracked in this blood.
Okay.
And it's traveling down the hall to the west. And when you look up, you actually see smoke coming out of one of the rooms.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna take off running in that direction.
Okay. Mr. Monroe, your companions fled out of the room upon hearing this woman scream.
I will follow behind Nicholas and, see if there's anything I can do, still holding the book in one hand.
Okay. Yeah, and so did you want to give a first aid attempt, or?
Actually, no, I'm just going to stand behind Nicholas, assuming that his military training would have given him far more, emergency triage medical knowledge than I have.
All right, so you stand and looking over Nicholas, and you feel a presence behind you, and you see that Jesse Hughes has followed you out. It seems, though, that Nicholas is sort of at a loss as well.
I'll ask him, can you translate what this poor lady is saying to us?
Yeah, she's saying a man stabbed him.
Well, yes.
I'll shout, does anybody know first aid?
Okay, yeah, give me a luck roll.
Start yelling for a medic.
Yeah. Medic.
All right, yeah, no, your cries do draw people, but nobody that seems to have any medical training. And Jesse Hughes is sort of, cocking his head to get a better listen to what she's saying. And he says, well, she's saying that a man pulled a sword out and stabbed him with a sword and then ran off down the hall. And you can see down the hall, you see James, thundering down the hallway there, and there's smoke pouring out from around a door in one of the rooms. I'm
going to hand the book off to what's his name, Jesse? Or
yeah,
Jesse. And follow behind James.
All right, yeah, Nicholas, so nobody seems to be coming to your cries. What else did you want to do?
Do I see the smoke?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, I mean, this guy's beyond me, so you said he doesn't even appear to be alive?
Not as far as you can tell.
Yeah, all right. So then I'll chase after those guys, and I'll tell Jesse to keep up with us.
All right, James, so you come to this door, and you can see it's not a lot of smoke, just a little bit creeping out from beneath the jamb and around where it can get, like more up the top, actually.
So does is this where those boot prints go?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll test the handle and see if it's unlocked.
Okay, yeah, it is.
All right, yeah. So open the door and.
All right, so this is an office much like Professor Sanchez's office, and there's a desk and a bunch of paper and books were hastily piled on the desk, and that appears to be what's burning.
Okay. Do I see anybody in here?
No, but you can see the window across the way has been left open.
Okay. So yeah, I'll go in. How bad is the fire right now?
It's not bad. You could probably smother it.
So what I'll do is I'll go in, and if what I want to try and just knock the whatever's on fire away.
Okay.
Right. Or toss the books. So just something to get them out of that pile. Right.
Gotcha.
And so it doesn't. Hopefully, it doesn't get all of them. But that's just on the way to the window.
Yeah. So no roll is needed. Just with some effort, you can disperse the fuel and smother it and stamp it out, and we'll call that your turn. And so Lance, you come in on his heels and you see him hastily putting out this fire.
Okay. I'll assist him.
Okay. So yeah, Nicholas, then you arrive behind them and you look into that room, but go and give me a hard spot hidden.
Just Nicholas or all of us?
Just Nicholas. All right. Yeah. So you see them putting out flaming pages and books. They're stamping on it with their boots or batting at it with hands or whatever they can get to smother it. And that's the scene you come upon. What would you like to do?
All right. So, is there's any other doors out of this room?
No, but there is an open window. You see the curtains sort of fluff with the breeze.
Okay. What floor are we on?
You're on the first floor.
Okay, I'll go look out the window then.
All right. So, this looks into the like a park area on the campus, and you don't see anybody at first, but with a hard spot hidden.
No.
Well, if you're going to fail spectacularly.
All right. So you see a man.
I try to look better by pulling my eyes out so I can see around the corner. And it snaps and I'm blind.
You see a man wearing a white cotton suit hustling across the courtyard there. He's running.
Okay. I see someone running. I'll jump out the window and chase him.
All right, James.
So yeah, I'll at that I'll tell Lance to grab these, and I'll go to the window and take a look myself. Do you want to?
Did that fit through the window? Is it big enough?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was easy enough to vault. So yeah, you go you go through the window yourself, and you see that Saucedo has gone. He's chasing after a man in a white cotton suit who's jogging across this courtyard.
I'd like to do a spot as well, just to see if there's anything else.
Yeah, well, I actually need a hard spot hidden from you. All right, yeah. So Nicholas has his attention on this man jogging across the lawn.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go out. Does he have a sword?
Not that you can see.
Okay. I was trying to think of some way to try and push this
Well,
yeah.
you
All
could
right.
you could stop to take a closer look.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on looking and jumping out after anybody just yet, as I wanted to really take a second and.
But your
Look at everything.
chances of being involved with, catching up to this man that Nicholas is keyed on would be shot.
Yeah.
If you were to push the roll.
And it just like I said, it doesn't quite match with what we heard though. So as I don't.
So you're not going to push it?
Well, I will. Yeah, because I don't think that that's him.
Okay.
So, man.
All right, so yeah, the man takes further than you'll be able to catch up. Same with Nicholas,
Yeah.
so that'll end your turn there, and we'll go to Lance. So you saw Nicholas jump out the window after somebody, and
Okay.
James is paused there to take a look around. And the
Okay.
fire is contained at this point.
But yeah, I'll look. I don't know what you expect me to do with these books. They're not mine. These are some professor's work. I can't just simply package them up and take them with me.
Give me a listen roll.
Okay.
Actually, you too, James.
Okay. Nope.
Okay.
I could burn almost the rest of my luck to make that a success.
Do it.
But no.
Is there any action you wanted to take, Lance?
I'll be trying to make sure that as much of these are salvaged as possible, and then begin stacking them neatly back up on top of the desk.
All right, Nicholas. So you're hot on the heels of this guy. You'll be able to catch up to him with a successful Constitution roll. Those lungs of yours.
Yeah, forgot about that. All right. Cough and fit.
Yeah, so they start to seize up and your chest tightens and you lag behind. And then that man disappears around the corner.
Yeah, that's it for me. I'm not going to be able to catch up to him, so I'll find a bench and try and catch my breath.
All right, so back in the room, you guys hear some commotion out in the hallway.
Okay. I'd like to, if I could, try to get a look at any of these books, just to see if there's anything that really stands out to me. Do you want to do like a luck roll or something? Or?
Nothing about them appears to make any sense. They were kind of grabbed at random, right?
Okay.
So one, well, it is tough for you to make it out because it's all in Spanish, but it's some documents, some papers, some books, It just looked like everything that was on this desk was scooped into a pile and lit on fire.
Okay. All right, then. I guess with that, I'll head towards the door.
All right, so you see that somebody with medical training has arrived, and they're looking over the man who was stabbed. But go ahead and give me another spot hidden roll. James.
There you go. It's all good, big guy.
Sad.
All right, so you catch another of those heel prints, but you had seen one go into the room, you thought, but now you see that it travels further west down the hallway.
Okay, so I'll say to Lance then that it looks like they went this way, and then just start heading out again.
I'll take one last glance at the papers and books, see if I recognize the subject before I, chase after him, saying, "Do you really believe it's too wise for two of us to try and follow a man with a sword that had just stabbed another man to death in the hallway of a university?"
Don't worry, I got my... Oh, no!
So you are able to get more detail from these books, and they just look like the work from the professor who occupies this office normally.
Okay.
Coursework and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So,
But nothing,
textbooks,
nothing that really catches my eye.
right. It's some sort of history course.
Okay. Which would sort of catch my eye, but not.
Not in the circumstance.
Yeah.
Begin grading papers. Oh. It's all in Spanish, though, Lance. How are you doing it?
Same way they do it. You just cross off random words and put a number at the top.
But yes, James has called your attention to something.
Okay. But yeah, I'll follow him back out into the hallway.
So you can see, do you have track? Are you proficient at it? Do you have a high rating,
Well, way he's been rolling, that 10% might be doable.
No, I have a 10, as I'm just usually pretty good at seeing things.
Okay, well, you can see that it heads off west, and at the end of that corridor, there's sort of a narrow, dimly lit stairwell.
Okay.
You don't find any other footprints.
Can I do a listen?
At the stairwell?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think of a way to push it?
Well,
Just cup
I'd go. How long is the stairwell? Does it seem like?
Well, it curves out of sight
Okay.
relatively quickly.
So I'll call Lance up and tell him to stand right in front of the entryway, and I'll go down into it a little bit. Does that way block off any sound waves coming into it? So that way everything should be from down below.
Well, I'll give Lance the same listen opportunity when he calls you over.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right behind him, but trying to make sure that his body is in front of mine should a sword come out of nowhere.
No. Oh.
You know, for it being a 1% chance of getting these, we are getting them really often.
You know, can I switch the push and just use luck?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay, I'll do that. All right.
Yeah, so you hear a man moaning in pain, it sounds like. It's very distant, down the stairwell.
Okay. So yeah, I'll whisper to Lance. Sounds like somebody's down there.
I hear absolutely nothing.
Well, on top of that, you're somewhat adrenalized, so when you came to a stop, you weren't in full control of your faculties, so you sort of slide. Those nice shoes that you wear aren't the best for traction, so you'll need a dex roll to avoid clambering down the stairwell.
Yeah, that's not a good one either.
Nice.
So I'm Michael J. Fox. Slide on into the stairwell. Perfect.
So Clarence, he comes sliding up to you in an inappropriate fashion, showing off, I guess.
Going from a sprint to an electric slide.
Considering the circumstances. But anyhow, yeah, so you heard that sound in the stairwell. Sorry, James, what were you going to do?
See, I'm gonna go down stealthily, hopefully, and to investigate it.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, this is a narrow, dimly lit, electrical light, low wattage bulb stairwell, and it just circles down to a basement level. And this basement has a hallway, and you see there's a door there that's left slightly ajar, and laying half in and out of whatever room is beyond in the hallway is Professor Mamicio Sanchez, and he's just sort of laying there, like clutching his stomach and moaning, And the only word you can make out is somewhat incredulous as he says, "He kissed me.
Okay.
Kissed me."
So I'll go up to him and I'll ask him if he knows which way he went while I'm rolling him over.
Yeah, you just can't get anything else out of him. He just seems to be in too much pain at the moment.
Okay.
But make a spot hidden for me as you roll him over.
Grenade.
Use luck. Oh. I succeeded that, but I wanted to edit it. All right, so luck has been spent.
Well, first you see there are traces of a rancid white, waxy substance around his mouth when you go to roll him over. But when your hands are pressed on his body, you feel something move beneath the clothes and beneath the skin, you think. Give me a sanity roll. Like something presses up against your hands from his abdomen.
It's just guts. Just guts.
Yeah, so you don't lose any sanity. But you definitely felt there's something moving.
Just guts.
in his stomach.
All right.
But I think that's a good place to pause with you, and we'll go to Nicholas. Nicholas, give me a luck roll.
Failure.
Well, just chase it with luck.
Yeah.
All right, well, you've recovered your breath by now.
Yeah. I'll just start walking back to the window I jumped out of.
Okay, and you're going to go back in that way?
Yeah, because if I try to go around to a door, I'll get lost. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you see, when you come back in through that window, you see Mr. Monroe at the top of a stairwell at the end of that hallway, sort of peering down the stairwell. And you see that some medical attention has arrived. A student appears to be performing first aid on this man who was stabbed.
Mr. Monroe, what is going on in this stairwell?
I'm not exactly sure. Perhaps you want to go down and assist Mr. Whitmire. He said he heard someone moaning at the bottom of the stairs. I'm afraid my courage in facing this man with a sword that is murdering people is a little bit lacking at the moment. If you want to take the lead.
Yeah, please allow me.
Thank you, my fine, courageous friend.
Go down the stairs.
And I'll follow behind
Keep
him.
my hand on my pistol, but
Okay.
I won't draw it.
Okay, so yeah, you guys come to this scene of James looking over the form of Mamicio Sanchez as he's lying there writhing around, clutching his abdomen. He's not speaking any words anymore, and at this point, he actually begins to convulse. So, what do you do, James?
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I wanted to see if I could just deduce which way this individual went.
Go ahead and give me a spot hidden.
Luck it or push it. And you actually got a pretty good skill there. You might be able to push that, no problem.
I
would
can't really think of a way to.
Yeah.
Easy. You just light your lighter so you can see better.
All right, there you go.
But if you fail,
You're going to
light
catch on
yourself
fire.
on fire.
No, how about we do it this way? Is you would have your suspicions, and you now have two other people. You could have them. You could say, this guy who stabbed the other guy came this way or came from this way. Maybe he's around here somewhere. Go have a look, and they can take a crack at it.
Yeah, then I will do that. He either came from here or he went this way, but he's around here somewhere.
So for you guys, you have the room, which from what you can see inside, although it's also dimly lit, is a storeroom, or you could go further down the hallway, or you could split up your attentions.
Well, now, Professor, what was his name again?
Sanchez.
He's like convulsing, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be what I'll pay attention to, right? This guy that needs help. So I'll just pick him up because I know there's someone up there that's doing first aid and they might be able to help him.
Okay, yeah, give me a
So I
spot
should build
hidden
this-
roll as you go to pick him up.
Okay.
All right, yeah, so you see, underneath the suit jacket, he was wearing a button-up shirt, and you see the fabric bulge up like a good several inches before it settles back down again.
Oh, dear.
That's most unfortunate.
You definitely need first aid.
But yeah, you can pick him up, but do you proceed with that action once you see that?
Yeah, I mean, now he needs help even worse than I thought, right?
Okay,
So, I mean, I haven't seen the movie Alien yet.
right.
So
It's not a thing. It's not a phobia yet.
yeah.
Phobia unlocked.
Yeah, so I'll just take as deep as breath as I can and take him up the steps, cradling him like a babe.
And what's your, let me pull him up. Your build is a 1.
My build, my what?
You have a attribute or a characteristic called build. Check your combat tab if it's not on the main page.
Yes, it's a 1.
All right, yeah. So his is a 0, so he's a smaller guy than you. So I won't need a roll to get up those stairs or anything.
Okay. Now, do I see that white stuff when I
Around
pick
his
him up?
mouth, it reminds you of something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say I recognize this, but I'll keep going up.
Okay, I recognize this. Yeah, looking at him, you can see that the skin around his lips and his face is peeling as though from like a bad sunburn.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so for the two of you left down there, James and Monroe.
I left you down there.
You're a jerk.
I'll go down now because you're there.
And James, that frees you up to, I guess, give another shot at looking around.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to step out into the hallway and keep an eye out just in case some madman comes charging back out of nowhere.
All right, so since Monroe has turned his attention to the hallway, are you going to peek into the storeroom then?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, you see it's pretty neat, just rows in rows of items, crates and boxes and bags on shelves. So you have, they go floor to ceiling, and these are pretty vaulted ceilings. But as I mentioned, it's all dim wattage bulbs or low wattage bulbs. But you do see a shape half buried under like a pile of artifacts some ways down one of these rows.
Okay. So I'm gonna try and stealth my way up to it. So this guy obviously thought to hide under all this stuff.
All right, so the shape is it's
Didn't make it.
what's this? Oh, still.
Stomps up.
You knock the rows over like the library scene. Yeah, so you make your way towards this shape and you realize as you get closer that this is a shape of a human corpse. But it's emaciated. It appears almost mummified and perhaps this is the state that made you not realize it at first from the doorway. But you realize that it's the corpse of a woman, and she was wearing a jacket. The clothes are in a good state, except where they're torn about the chest. She looked to be dressed like a student here, and there's a roughly 6-inch diameter disc-shaped hole in her chest where the flesh was torn away. And her shriveled face is this frozen mask of terror, eyes still wide and staring. Sanity roll, please.
I'm not doing very good as a sanity tank.
Well, he's kind of tanky too when it comes to sanity.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sane.
Yeah.
Got that. Yeah, so it is horrible, but...
I've seen worse.
Well, no, you can't quite say that either. But you keep it together. In her jacket pocket she was wearing, there's a notebook that's like folded in half, sticking out
All right.
of
I'll
that pocket.
grab that. And I'll see if there's anything else on her, too.
Well, it looks like when she fell, or you guess, you're trying to put together what had maybe happened, she had pulled some of the items down with her, and there was a crate that had broken open. And you see something like worked gold poking out of, it was packed in straw and whatnot, so it's poking out of one part of it.
I'll go for that, too.
Yeah.
Probably good that our smuggler with a no conscience and stealing happened to be in.
So yeah, that's that. You guys had seen that, or at least Mr. Monroe had seen that
Okay.
piece of worked gold, a single length of worked gold around 2 feet in length, 3 inches wide, and 1/3 of an inch deep. Both of its ends are rough, as though a piece was ripped or broken from a larger design, or as though this piece was ripped or broken from a larger design. It weighs, you think, around 20 pounds as you kind of heft it out of that crate. And it's a largely straight band, although 4 sections jut out at right angles into short spurs or squared off spirals. And the surface is imprinted with a series of non-repeating geometric shapes, mostly squares and rectangles.
All right. I'm going to take my belt off, and I'm going to attach that to my leg. How big is it? It's like 2 feet. Yeah, so attach it to like my calf, and then cinch that down with my belt.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you start working that in there. And so we will briefly jump over to Mr. Charles Stanton as he's walking back from the bay, maybe grumbling about. And you've walked past your hotel and you see you recognize him. You see Luis de Mendoza heading towards his hotel room, the Hotel Hispana, and make a spot hidden roll for me.
Oh, well, I need to be on the right page for that to happen.
Well, so you see he's got something long and it's wrapped up at this point. He seems to be trying to put it under his coat. You might be able to push the roll.
But maybe get caught looking at him?
Right, yeah.
All right, we'll go with that. Yes.
All right, so yeah, he has some sort of sixth sense, as people do, about being watched. So he scans around, but his eyes don't see you. But you realize that the object he has tucked into his coat, you see the end of a saber poking out of that bundle. And then he tucks it in his coat and walks into the hotel lobby. And that is where we will end.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, good. Thanks, man.
This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.